Today's show, y'all, Momma Trauma. So this is very dear to me, and I am going to have a two-part series with this one. We're going to see the effects from the female and from the male. I actually dedicate this first show to my children. This is the first time I've ever dedicated a show, but I'm dedicating this show, Momma Trauma, to my children. Momma Trauma Part 1, to my children. You know, there is, well, I have many stories, as I'm always saying. This is a part of the platform. So this story time is just to share a little bit about my relationship with my mother. At 14, my mother dismissed me from the home. So I literally, at 14, I moved in with a boyfriend, and I was working part-time. I was going to school full-time. And it was a very devastating situation and circumstance. And it was originally a miss. No, let's just keep this 100. I love this show. So because my mother's male friend at the time wanted to have sex with me, because I had already been pregnant, because men were all over me, and I just had this something that my mother couldn't deal with me as a female and as a young child and her daughter, she dismissed me. Pretty much her statement was, the house is not big enough for two BITCHs, and because I'm the one that paid the rent, you gotta go. Now, I say all this to say that God has blessed in a tremendous way, that though my mother and I had had a rocky relationship since I was 14 years old, here it is almost 4 decades later, and I am proud to say that my mother and I have the most amazing relationship. And it's so many of us that go through momma trauma, but we don't really look at the fact that our mothers are people. They are individuals. They are young ladies somewhere inside there that has trauma. It's a little girl in there that's hurting. It's a little girl in there that wasn't able to speak. There's a little girl in there that didn't have the tools and resources that she needed to navigate a successful life, more so than being a mother, right? And we also know that there is no handbook on parenting, right? There is nothing really to say you have to do it like this. You have to do it by that child. And I know that a lot of us kind of get stuck. A lot of us mothers get stuck because we're navigating through our own trauma. We're dealing with our own things. At that time, I didn't know what my mother had gone through. All I know is that she didn't show me love, that she was emotionally void when it came to, I honestly, the first time my mother told me, or I could recall or remember my mother telling me she loved me, I was 27 years old for the first time. And I didn't understand that wasn't something that she had received her own self. And that wasn't something that her mother received. And that wasn't something that her mother's mother received. So when we talk about momma trauma, we also have to start dealing with not just generational trauma, but inherited trauma, especially as a melanated individual. We come already predisposed, born into trauma. So today we are going to talk with my good girlfriend from high school. We've got 35 plus years in the makings, y'all. We are both from Baltimore, Maryland. We are both graduates of the only public all-girls school in the nation, and we love it. We are doves, and we are dignified. We are elegant. We are smart. We just are amazing. So I'm going to bring Tyla Yancey on, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll hear her story. And then we kind of just will talk about what happens with this momma trauma and some solutions to help navigate if you are someone who has momma trauma, or if indeed you're a mama and you want to navigate past your trauma. So Tyla Yancey is a mentor, an empowerment coach, and a speaker who is passionate about empowering women, young ladies, and adults to reach higher heights. She's currently building her nonprofit organization as a founder and CEO of Be Tired Foundation, Inc. She will provide organizations and programs and services to youth, young adults, and women through mentorship, training, and strategical overcoming obstacles and make healthy decisions. Tyla's passion stems from conquering adverse situations through life and overcoming challenges as a teenage mother. Y'all, we were pregnant together. This is so when I tell you we go back, we got history. Tyla and I literally were pregnant together as 12th graders in senior high school. And I think I had my baby first, and then she had her son same month and everything. So she said that, she overcame, of course, her teenage mothering, stigmas that come with that role. And it says, despite the obstacles, she went on to success, living by the words of the philosopher Chung. Now, she would put somebody's name in there I can't pronounce. Toy's philosopher Chung Zoing Jung. She gonna have to come in and say that. Just a caterpillar through the world was over, but became a butterfly. Tyla sees herself as a caterpillar and approaches every challenge as an opportunity for change to spread her wings to fly higher. One of the things that she said to me, y'all, we were going to start something together, and we probably still will. But I was like, girl, because I'm my sister's keeper. And she was like, Renee, I'm not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. So I present to you Miss Tyla Yancey, my sister. We got to first say that. Yes. Hi, Tyla.
Hello.
Tyla, you had me read that bio. You ain't told me it was words in it I couldn't pronounce.
I have faith in you.
See, that's that sister stuff that's what I'm talking about. And I forgot to say this. For those who will be able to see this, I don't know, Tyla, do you know that people always say we look alike?
I do know that.
And so when people see this, they're going to be like, wait, what? She's talking about that's a good girlfriend.
Yes, my granddaughter and my daughter said the same thing when they saw your picture.
They did.
Yes, and we never see it. I don't know.
Never see it. And wait a minute. Why we have to come through with the same matching colors though?
I know. I saw that. I was like, wait, this wasn't planned, y'all. This wasn't planned. It was not planned.
It was not. So I don't know if you were able to hear me, but I was just telling everyone about my story initially, just kind of sharing that I've had Momma Trauma. But then I also had to really take into perspective that because I've had Momma Trauma, that I also created trauma for my own children, right?
Absolutely.
That's a part of that, being able to heal. And when you heal, understanding what responsibilities you played in things and take your accountability as well. So I also was just sharing. So I want you to talk a little bit about you, because I want you to share whatever story you have in order for us to go ahead on, dissect it, help people, give them hope, give them inspiration, and let them know. I just shared. My mother put me out when I was 14 years old. We had a rocky relationship. My mother parented other teens my age, but not me, and that hurt. My mother gave to other people and not me, and that hurt. My mother did a lot of things that I even have to correct people about, Tyla, because I'm like, listen, yep, my mother did that to me. My mother did that to me. My mother let that happen to me. But at the end of the day, that was my mother, and that is my mother. And what you will not do, what you cannot do, is come from my mother. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, she's still my mother. And whatever reason God put her in my life as my mother, right? It was for a reason. And we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. So here, just the day before I turned 54, I am proud to say I have the best relationship with my mother that I've ever had. And it is absolutely amazing. So there is hope if someone's had Momma Trauma. Talk to us, Tyla. Talk to us.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm proud of you and the relationship that you are cultivating with your mom. You know, we've talked a lot, and I've been on this journey with you. So I'm happy, and it's so good to see. And I love seeing the pictures that you post on Facebook, and it's really refreshing. So my story is a little different, and in the part of my story that I think helps others is that sometimes Momma Trauma doesn't look like Momma Trauma.
Come on.
My mom, not one time will I, and do I doubt her love for me. Did she hug me every day? No. Did she say, I love you every day? No. I didn't receive that. However, I needed it. but she didn't know I needed it.
So, let me ask you something, Tyla. Do you think she didn't know you needed it because she needed it too?
I do. I believe that she didn't know I needed it because when she needed it, she didn't get it.
Right.
My mom was raised by her great aunt, and to this day, she still says she doesn't understand why her mother gave her away. You know, and it goes on from what we learn and what we can give out. You know, I have experienced not being able to give that love to my children as they needed it. I remember sitting my children down when they were in elementary school, actually, and I said, listen, I don't know how to initiate the hugs and kisses. So sometimes I need you to do it for me. And that's how we started with me being able to admit that and come to grips with it.
Because, now, you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I always say this, right? Being single moms, right? Being teenage parents. I remember my oldest son's, like, people like his parents or grandparents, grandparents, they'd be like, well, he need to call me and say hi. No, he don't. This was me. I was like, no, he doesn't have to call you because he's the child. My mother is calling y'all. This is so funny. Wait, this is funny. Mommy. I'm on the radio, and I'm on the radio. My mother is so funny, y'all. I'm on the radio right now doing an interview. So can I call you back? All right. The only reason I took this call is because it's this show. Because it was just right on time that my mother would call me at this time.
Absolutely. Because there were times when you didn't get those calls.
I didn't get the calls. And Tyla, so kind of going back here, I used to say that I don't think it's a child's responsibility to have to initiate love, right? Because we should be able to give that. But what you said is most important, because what you did is you set your children down because you were taking responsibility and letting them know who you were. A lot of times us, right? And see, I say this all the time, and I'm getting ready to go a little bit. People really don't understand a Baltimore woman. We are unique, honestly. Really, we go through stuff, and we are the hardest, softest women you're going to come across, right? Don't play with it, but we soft. Let her cry, for she's a lady. I'm just trying to tell you. So, but at the same token, you took responsibility and you said that to them. But what happens is, a lot of times, like us, our parents, we got those mothers who didn't know how to initiate that, right? So as you are proud of me for my relationship, Tyla, I am so proud of you, because honestly, nobody had to pull your coattails or pull your strings and say, I need you to be responsible. You took ownership and said, I'm going to be responsible. And because I know who I am, because a lot of times our mothers don't share with us who they are. And we don't really know what their background is. We don't know what happened. So we can only assume by either their interaction with us or lack of interaction with us, what the situation may be. So I just wanted to have a say that moment, because you took, and because this is about strategies, you took ownership and you made a strategic move to be able to change what maybe didn't happen to you, to change it for your children. So I just wanted to do a say that moment. Okay.
Yes, that was my goal. Now, don't get it wrong, because later on, and teenagers, young adults, all of that comes into play, and it's like, all that mama trauma comes back. The things that I wanted most, no one would understand how that was something that wasn't there and that could be as detrimental as I feel it could be. Someone else can look at me and say, well, I had friends that come to my house all the time to spend the night because we had the ribeye steaks, Mary's.
Stop with it. Say, we ain't get the steaks. We got hot dogs. That's a whole thing.
We had the ribeye, and I had ramen noodles. I'm sorry. I had oodles of noodles that I was cutting up ribeye steaks and putting the steaks in. And, my mom's idea of being there was to make sure that the lights were on, there was food in the refrigerator, there was steaks in the freezer. You know, we were passing shrimp to our friends out the back door. You know, it's like,
Stop playing. Y'all was rich. We ain't had no shrimp.
and we wasn't rich. I don't know which stuff.
We ain't got no shrimp unless we got it with the yakami down
Girl, listen.
Let me
So,
ask
you know, so that's the outside looking in though, right?
Right. That's exactly. But Tyler, let me ask you a question. Was Dad around?
No, not at all.
And I
Not
say
at
that
all.
because we have, again, coming from our territory, that was parenting. Our parents provided a roof. We had clean clothes. And, you know, some of them name brand and nice looking too, you know, and we ate well or whatever, you know. So that was the equivalent of parenting, because remember, we were younger. So that's another thing that we didn't understand that our mothers was doing. My mother worked 3 jobs.
I was just going to say that, but understand that what came with that was that when I came home from school, my mom wasn't home.
Absolutely.
And when I went to bed, my mom wasn't home.
But your lights was on.
But my lights were on. I had dinner there, and I was, you know, in good dinner, you know. but what I needed was my mom to be there when I opened the door.
Absolutely.
Of the school. And I remember one day feeling like, I just wish she was home when I come home after school. And
I was too hot. I was hoping she wasn't home because I probably was going to bring somebody over.
And listen, let me tell you, when I tell you that I always go by, I was more than a conqueror, because it was only God that kept me going. And that covered me, because there were so many things I could have gotten into. Most of the kids my age in my neighborhood were having sex at 10, 11, 12, babies at 13, strung out on drugs at 14. And my mom said, be in the house when the lights came on. Don't take yourself up the street. Don't take yourself over there. You better not leave this front. Don't go down there. And I did it. And nobody was there to know I did it.
Well, I was a little different. My mother was like, don't do it. And I was scared as a mug. So I'm like, I'm not going to do it because she's going to beat me 8 ways silly. So I did not do it. And this is getting ready, it might shock you, but I was kind of nerdy. I went to the library, I got books, and I read, and I wrote stories, I wrote plays, I wrote songs. That's what I did in my room. I was like, plus my mother had the neighbor watching, so I knew I wasn't going to do nothing. So
I was an A student, and not a person checked my homework ever.
Wait a minute, stop right there, Tyla, because that was another thing. Now, I never really can recall saying I wish my mother was home, but my mother wasn't there to check my homework or see if I did homework, but she was there when I got them deficiencies. So when I got deficiencies, I learned how to forge her name, because I was like, she ain't gonna see none of these no more. But I was hurt. And I just want to stay here for 1 second. I was hurt because my mother came to my school 3 times in life. Once in elementary school, and I got a beating because I wore my hair out, and I wasn't supposed to wear my hair out. My teacher told on me. My 6th grade graduation, but then she left and went to work. And then when I got kicked out of Western, she came up there to fight for me, and I got back into the school. Those are the 3 times. My mother didn't come to graduation when we graduated and walked across that lawn or anything. And I'm only saying this because this is a radio show for solutions. So this ain't, let's say how bad our mother is, because that's not the situation. I'm saying that because I want to put this part in there, how big forgiveness is.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you, you everything that you said, it's, you know, we always talk about how much of a kindred spirit we have, you know, on different levels. You know, my mom, my sister made her come to graduation, and we left graduation. We were pregnant, and I went to graduation, and we left graduation, go to dinner, and she said, "Take me home." And you know, it's like there was no celebration. My sister took me out, yes, but you know, so those were the things I needed. I just needed to feel the attention and in my space. But let me tell you, my mom is now aging. And it has been very difficult to have that reverse role, you know, and so we don't think about that now. But let me say this. I've said many times that I forgave her, and many times I did not.
Come on.
And let me tell you how I know I did not, because when I forgave her, it felt different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Come on, tell me about that.
So there has been a time when I really felt like she's a person.
Say that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, she was a mother who did what she knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we all make mistakes, you know, and it's when I got to that point, I can see the forgiveness. I could feel it. It felt so different. Things that I did for her did not feel like a task
Come on.
anymore. It's like I do it out of my heart. And my siblings, some of my siblings still struggle with that,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, you know, it's like sometimes I have times getting assistance with her because of things that she's done. But I look at the responses that they give sometimes, and I can only feel how it feels in my heart when it's like I must have really gotten to a place of forgiveness because I can do it. And even though I still get her negative comments and things like that sometimes while I'm helping, I keep moving and it doesn't hurt as bad.
So what you just said is definitely a say that moment. And I just kind of want to highlight yet that again, because I want people to know that, like you said, you can say you forgive a person, you can say you forgive a person. A lot of times we say we forgive people who are just not in our presence anymore. Mm-hmm. So we just remove ourselves from that. And it's like, you know, I'm good. But then, like you said, when that person is in your presence, if whatever they say or do or whatever triggers you back into a feeling of hurt, then you're not healed from that. You have not forgiven. But when you've forgiven, just as you said, like I said, that is a say that moment. You feel different. And I don't like to tell people about feelings because feelings change. But what I'm saying is you can feel like this shift in yourself.
Yes.
That no matter what that person does or what my mom says, like you said, it'll hurt. But it never triggers a place in me that hurt will be a place of resentment or negativity. It's just a fleeting feeling because we do have emotions. So yeah, what she might have said stung, but it's not going to change my response or my reaction to her. That's when you know that you've truly forgiven. The other thing I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit because I dedicated this show to my children. And I am so open with conversation with my children, and I allow them to help me to understand what they received from me as a parent, especially because of what I received or did not receive from my parent, right? And one of the things that both my oldest son, God rest his soul, and my daughter, my youngest, said to me was that, Mom, you parented us out of fear. And sometimes because you parented us out of fear, we missed what we needed to navigate some of these streets because you were so busy trying to keep us from it or keep us from what you had happened to you or dealt with you with your parent that we still didn't get the story. So I see you move and talk to me. You feeling that?
I am, and because, you know, that was going to be the next thing I said as far as with my children, you know, in these young adult lives of theirs. I parented out of fear, but it was a different type of fear.
Okay.
I parented out of fear of hurting our relationship. So I, you know, because I didn't want to have the relationship, the lack of a relationship that I had. So I parented out of fear and tried to give them everything that I thought they needed. And then it became a little smothering.
In my parenting out of fear, I did, so okay, that's two things for me. So my parenting out of fear sounded like anger because it sounded like I was always angry. I'm like, don't do that. Don't be doing that. You can't be doing that. And instead of being able to have the emotional and intellectual intelligence to really communicate, I'm afraid that if that happens, this will happen. It just came out as fussing. So for years, they thought they had angry mom. Now, the other part to that, what you were saying when you gave them to smother, I feel like that was my part of parenting them for overcompensating for what I did not do. So that was my overcompensating parenting right there, where I felt like, and I mean, you went to high school with me, you know, I mean, I wasn't maybe your top dresser, but I ain't dressed like no slob either, you know, but I didn't have everything that had a name brand.
I mean, you went to Western, you couldn't.
Girl, listen, we had to bring that. I told you, we dignity doves, right? We elegance and all that. But as a funny part, that's another thing I was talking to my daughter about as well. And I was just saying, when I first came to Western, see, y'all, she made me go off on this story. So I said, when I first came to Western, I was coming from, I was coming from our hood or whatever. And it was in the 80s. And I was into the shell heads and the culture shorts and the BBD and, the fat laces. And I was like, I came up to this school and I'm like, and what? And I'm in a house, what? West side. I got there and saw all these dresses and necklaces. I was like, I went shopping for the wrong school clothes.
And old school stilettos, what we thought was stilettos.
Okay. And that's what I did. We changed and it was heels and earrings and all of that stuff. And I literally wore heels for so long that it wasn't until my second marriage. He was like, do you own a pair of tennis? And I was like, I don't. But anyway, Momma Trauma, y'all. So having said that, a lot of times, like you said, we give more. And it's not because, and that's the thing, it's not because we feel like it's a lack. Mm-hmm. It's more so we're compensating or trying to give or create a narrative of parenting that we wanted. So right. In saying that, like you said, going back here for a minute, you were like, you just wanted somebody to be there, somebody. How did that affect your relationships with other women? And how did that affect your relationships with intimate partners and men?
Okay, how did it or how do it?
Oh, well, come on. I love this show,
man. So, let's say it has affected my relationship. We're going to start with, let's see, we're going to start with the men, okay. Right? So my first relationship was with not my first, but my first serious relationship. My first marriage was with my childhood sweetheart. And, we dated all through high school, as you know, mm-hmm. And then we got married when I was 21. We have 2 children. He's the father of both of my children. And that relationship turned abusive. Mm-hmm. And I lived within that abusive relationship for a while before without letting anyone know before I got to my turning point. So I found that I just longed for the fact that I remember every time I thought about leaving, I would count how many years we had been together. Mm. And it was just like, oh, we've been together this long. He's here. When Christmas comes, I don't have to think about what I'm going to do and who I'm going to be with. He's going to be here. We live together. We have this family, and it was just like
pretty much he provided that placement that your mom didn't provide.
Absolutely. And if I can really be honest, when I met him, I met him through a mutual friend. I didn't have that romantic connection that he had.
So it was like a Jada and Will. That's all right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But he pursued me, and I felt good about him. So he wanted me.
Come on.
And he was somebody who girls in the neighborhood, in his neighborhood, were all after. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're after him, but he's after me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just like felt good for somebody to want me.
Because I'm going to stop for 1 second. I apologize. Because when a mother doesn't give us that characteristic of nurture, it gives us a sense of, honestly, low self-esteem, right? And lack of self-worth. So when somebody, like you said, when somebody says, I choose you, it's like, oh my gosh, like you've seen me and deemed me worthy enough. And like you said, especially if it's somebody else wants, but they want you, it's like you have fulfilled a part of my esteem or my self-worth that I was void. Okay.
And then we divorced. And after that divorce, I didn't know how to date because I would not then give into being open with anybody, 1. But 2, that mama trauma. Mm-hmm. You asked me, was there a dad around? There were not, but there were a lot of uncles.
Okay.
one after another, right?
Mhm.
And so with having those uncles around and
And
me
see, if y'all not from Baltimore, y'all don't get the uncle is really not the uncle.
is not
It's
the
your mama
uncle.
boyfriend, but
Yes.
he uncle somebody, and so then okay, there you go. Okay, proceed.
And I was traumatized a lot when the uncles came out the room in the morning, kind of thing. So that bothered me a lot. We were teased by our childhood friends sometimes about that. So I refused to have men around my children. So I wouldn't date.
And on the contrary, with my mother had, as long as I've known, outside of my father, divorce of my father, she had 2 men. And with the mama trauma going, like you said, people saw other men. My mother didn't bring men. But not only that, the men that she did have, my mama ran things. So I took that from her, and I was like that. I was like, I'm running, man. They're gonna do what I say, blah 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 blah. And that's really inherited trauma from that, right? Because that's what I saw in my environment. But then after I got through some relationships and saw, wait, my mama's single. That might not work. And I was like, so I think I need to do something different. And I swung the pendulum all the way to the other side. And then I start accepting things from men. And like you said, been in abusive relationships that I should not have, because I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to be single like my mom. And my mom kind of like was dominant when it came to the male she's the male that she was with. So I need to pull back. But that pull back, again, I didn't find my balance. I shifted all the way to the other side.
Absolutely. And then I went into feeling like, okay, well, what do they want from me? Yeah. So then it went to the guys that I'm dating, but it's just, okay, I'm giving my body. They want my body. And then I met my current husband, and it was amazing for me. I remember calling my best friend the first time I was around him, and I was like, you don't try anything. Like, what's wrong with me? And she's like, what? I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, it bothered me. So again, that was that trauma, because I felt like I saw the men coming, and they going to the bedroom, going to the bedroom. I thought that was like, I needed to do. That's what they wanted. And that was a very pivotal point for me, to have someone that actually loved me for me.
And you know what, Tyla, I used to sing this song all the time, because even though, so of course, my molestation at an early age caused me to have that feeling. And I don't know so much that it was equated to mom, but I mean, mom wasn't there because she was working. But I mean, my having been passed around as a child with different males or whatever had me to feel that way. But I always would sing this song. I said, if I knew one country song, it was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love with too many faces. I was just looking for somebody to say, I love you and you are worth something to me. And so because of the sexual abuse as well, all I knew, even though I didn't want to, but I was the same way. I was just like, okay, so if I give them my body, maybe they'll want me, right? Maybe they'll deem me important. Maybe they'll say they love me, right? And I'm like, funny, crazy story, but y'all know this is being unboxed. I think it was like my second husband, and we were actually married. And after being intimate, I'm like, okay, so now what? What do you want? Like, you want to leave money on the dresser? He was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, so, is this what we doing? He's like, listen, you have got to heal. Like, that's way too much. Like, I married you. I've accepted you as my wife, and you talking about putting money on the dresser? What are you talking about? But these are the things that stem from, and it's not only just, it's the way that we're neurologically made up as well. When we miss that nurture from our mom, we seek it in anything. It could be men, food, clothing, material things, our job. We're just looking to be able to fulfill that void. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's not only until we actually begin to take responsibility for the fact that, and I would tell my kids this all the time, hey, listen, I did my best, and that's not a cop out.
Yep.
But at some point we have to say, because here's the solution.
Yep.
What role do I play in this now?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can no longer tag my behaviors, my perceptions, my patterns to my mama trauma.
Absolutely.
Do I acknowledge it? Yes. But will I make that the crutch for me to continue to hold on to, not to heal or to go further or to be productive or to be better? I will and I shall not. So tell me how that thing panned out with you and women.
So how it pans out with me and women. So I don't trust people.
Okay.
So I have an issue with being able to be vulnerable
With females?
With females.
Okay.
And unfortunately, because of that, I tend to pull away from women when it's like when I feel the relationship changing, where we're getting a little chummy, and it's like, wait a minute, is the other shoe going to drop? I didn't trust them. And I even to the point of getting into a relationship that what it's like, okay, yes, this is my best friend. It's still no doubt had me feeling like, can I open up to them? Do I call? I don't call people when I'm going through things. I tend to try to work it out myself because I don't want to be a burden on them. And that hinders me from being able to have those genuine relationships because they don't understand that. And don't understand, well, why she's not calling. Well, if you have an issue, then why aren't you calling me? If we're supposed to be this close, then why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? But it has absolutely nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me. You know, and to your point of being able to recognize that and work through it, you know, I have recognized that. And I do make attempts to work through it. But, you know, I'm at a place in my life right now that I have to surround myself with the people who are going to be able to accept me for me, all of me, all these pieces, you know, all of the pieces of me. Somebody that, you know, I saw a meme before that said, we sometimes need that friend that's going to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm on my way. You know,
I'll text you, even if it's 4:00 in the morning.
I'm on my way. Like, if you already know this about me, then help me. And I'm open to that. You know, so I am at the point where I am open to that with making the changes. But again, I may not initiate it. I'm not there.
And on the flip side, Tyla, the funny thing about it is I'm on the opposite side. I embraced relationships very quickly. Everybody was my best friend. Everybody was my cousin. Everybody was my sister. And I used to always say that I had friendships like the Titanic. I would go down with you. Like, I didn't care what you did to me. I didn't care how you treated me. Honestly, I was going to be your friend because I wanted that. And it was like I said, through my healing that I still bring people in, but my producer would laugh because she know that I don't let people in like real close. But at the same token, I'm like, I brought people in and they hurt me. And I literally had to start removing people from my life and just tell them, listen, you no longer get an opportunity to be in a placeholder that you were, right? Because I've now healed and I don't need you to hold that place. And I'm talking about the people that were like abusive in their relationship. Right. I mean, in my relationship. And I'm talking about females because they knew. And I've had friends that tell me, you're more of a friend to me than I've been to you. And I'm like, and yeah, you have. Because I filled the space, because I needed it and I wanted it until I let myself be that space. And I tell people all the time, especially with Momma Trauma, be your own best friend. When you are your own best friend, you will treat yourself like you would treat any other person, and you'll realize that that is the best friend you'll always ever have. And when you treat you good, you're in a space to be able to treat other people good. And I'm that one, and you know, I'm like, I'm the one that's going to text you 900,000 times. Honestly, you have to tell me, Nay, I get your messages. It'd be a lot. Can you stop? Because I'm going to make sure you know that I'm your friend, but I'm more wiser and understanding just
absolutely.
People who get me, go with me. People who get you, won't go with you.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. How do you how do you build boundaries now? Like now that you have understood your responsibility and you're recognizing yourself, how is it that you build boundaries with the relationship that you have? We don't talk about men because you married, got a good old marriage, and one day I'm gonna do it again. But how
That's
do you
important.
build boundaries with your
That is very important because, when I say that I've gotten to a place to say that who's going to be in my space that comes with building boundaries, because those relationships that I say have become that I had and didn't know how to cultivate, I sometimes was trying to plead. And, I don't say that I was a people pleaser, because it was more so of me being in my own head, right? That I need to do this so that they're not mad at me, right? So I had to get to a point I am at a point now where I have to accept me and my stuff too, right? So when I accept that, I know that other people's stuff is their stuff.
and that's what we have to do.
And I have to be absolutely. So I have to be able to say that, I do a couple things. When I think about what to do, what I'm not going to do, and what I need to do, what is the outcome? Like you brought up with my mama. Sometimes it's like I feel guilty if I don't do it. If I say no, nobody else is going to do it. Or what about this? Or what about that? And then I'm feeling like overwhelmed trying to get it done. I have now gotten to a point where I can only do what I can do.
Absolutely. Say that.
I need to be able to be true to me first in all my relationships. And I think about what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, what is the outcome? Like, is it really going to hurt anything if I don't do this?
That's the word.
And why am I doing it in the first place?
Stop. Say that again, please.
Yes.
Say that again.
Yes. Why? Why am I doing it? So if it's that I'm doing it to please somebody or to do it, then that's like one of my things. I have to set boundaries for what I will allow myself to do and how I feel about it. I have to. I can't.
When you do it for the wrong reason and you don't get the right response that you want, that brings upon resentment.
Absolutely. Resentment, it's a trigger. It takes you all the way back. So it's like you have to keep those things in mind. The boundaries that you set have to make sure that you're not being triggered.
Absolutely.
You know what things are going to get you to that point and where you're going in life. So,
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I really like the part where you talked about you have to find out your reasons why. So my reasonings going here, my reasoning, right? I'm gonna share this with you. One of the reasons why I chose to forgive my mother, one, was because I knew it was detrimental for my relationship with my daughter and for that relationship with her daughter, if she, has one. I'm like, in order for me to stop what was, I have to make it different in the present.
Absolutely.
So that was very important. So it was the love of my daughter first of all, the love of myself, love of Christ, and the love of my daughter that said, I'm going to make this change and forgive my mother. The other thing that had me to forgive my mother, and a big reason, was because I saw her as a person. I saw that though she had a title, she was actually a person. And that person goes through things just like everybody else. And I think that is a part of the maturity in us as women or as men, if we've had mama trauma, that we get to a point where we start looking at that person as a person. Thirdly, and a great impact as well, is I started looking, I gave forgiveness because I was now a mother. And some of the choices that I had to make, and some of the decision and choice being the same thing, and some of the predicaments that I was in, and some of the perspectives that I had to see it from, I realized I owed my mother not just forgiveness, but an apology. That no matter what she had did to me, I don't believe, now even though I didn't believe I was loved. I didn't. I never thought I was loved by my mother or wanted. But again, understanding, to a degree, she never did either. And I never had that discussion. I didn't know that, right? So what she gave me was the love that she had for me. And that was to make sure that, I was taken care of from the perspective from, like you said, roof over the head, food, clothes, things of that nature. So when I accepted that I was going to forgive, I also realized that freedom came with an apology. And if you know that you've forgiven, anytime you can apologize to somebody who has wronged you and you mean it. Because I really was just like, you know what? I really understand you did the best you can. And what I want to share with parents that may not have that apology right now from their children, it'll come. Life will bring them to a point that an apology must come. It may not even be verbal. It may be through a card. It may be just spending time. Because we always think just an apology is somebody going, I apologize. No, apology is an action. Apology is changed behavior. So when that child comes around or calls you more or texts you more or whatever, that is changed behavior, and that is their way of being able to apologize. So it will come. And you don't have to get kind of like, one of the things I don't like for parents to feel if they've been the mama trauma or that they've had it, don't feel guilty. We throw that out the window. Guilt has no place in parenting. If you've ever made a decision out of the best of your situation, your circumstance, and out of your heart, then you don't have to feel guilty about it at all. That was in your playbook, and you had to make the play that you had to make. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I mean, that was one thing that I have experienced, with being a parent. And it's funny, how the grandmoms always say, oh, you're going to get it back. You just wait. Mm-hmm. You just wait. And we do experience those same things that we've been through. And, I did the best I could as a
And I used to think that was a cop-out at first.
Really.
Like, no.
As a single mother and as what you and I had talked about before, singularity
parenting, absolutely.
That is the difference. Mm-hmm. But when I've been through that, I was like, listen, I thought I was the best thing in the world because I did it all. Like I did it. I took them to school. I did this. I paid for everything. I took care of everything. I did this. I did that. I did this. I did that. I was successful. I took them to school with me. Got 3 degrees while I was doing this single parenting thing. I am Wonder Woman. But I did no different than what my mom did going to work later. She didn't give me what I needed. So I possibly didn't give my children what they needed. So as they could become young adults, then I hear them say things and, when they're upset, well, I didn't get this and I didn't. I'm like, what? What you mean you didn't get that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you talking about? I gave you everything.
And everything that we knew to give them, right?
I knew.
And that's what I worked 3 jobs raising my kids as a singularity parent. And I remember praying, God, if you just give me one job that I can make it to all of their things or whatever, I can make it to the games, I can make it to the school, and it's so funny because like I said, my mother didn't make it to my stuff. And even though my kids loved it now, they tell me now, they were so glad that I was there supportive. Man, they didn't want me up there all the time because I was up there all the time. I'm like, I'm up there for everything. And it's just like, like they didn't want to see me all the time.
Well, it's amazing that, you never know the little things that matter. Weston had that mother-daughter tea that everybody knew about.
My mother never showed.
I didn't go to the mother-daughter tea.
Tyla, I didn't even go to the prom. My mother didn't. You didn't go to the prom, Tyla? Well, I didn't know because I wasn't there, so now I know. I didn't go either.
No, I didn't. I did the junior prom, but
I didn't do any prom. I brought my own ring. And so
I brought my own ring.
And for y'all that don't know, I don't know, like I said, we went to an amazing school. So we had a ring turning dance. We had a whole week of...
And that's not to cut you off, but this is a pivotal moment because you asked me about those relationships and how I did things. The ring, my Western ring, I gave to a female.
What?
Because I was trying to I wanted us to be such friends. And she's like, let me see your ring. Oh, that's so cute. And I was like, oh, you can wear it. And to this day, I'm like, I hope that one day somebody pawns it and they send it to the school because, they always have our names in it. And I've seen somebody have their ring returned that way. But
Wow.
yep, I gave it
Oh,
to
you don't have
somebody.
your ring.
I don't. I gave it to somebody trying to make a friend.
Wow. Let me tell you something. I had spent too much daggone money on my ring. I wouldn't even let nobody fold it. You can't even see it. Don't even touch it. Just accept to turn it. Don't even. I will pause for this. So I'm like, you ain't getting that. But wow, I didn't know that. Okay, well,
that is funny. Then so it was like I tried different things, didn't know how to have those relationships, so I did it all wrong.
Well, I want to say this. I am so grateful for the journey of our relationship.
So am I.
I said before, Tyla told me, I'm not my sister keeper. I am my sister. And guys, we talking, 3 decades plus, right? And that journey hasn't always been through Skittles and rainbows and we loving each other because, see, I'm getting ready to put on the spot. I ain't gonna say, Tyla wanted to beat me up, y'all. Like one day she seen me at Chuck E. Cheese. She was gonna beat me up. She think I forgot that story. She wanted to beat me up. I was like, why is she so mad at me? But I praise God. You don't remember that, Tyla?
I remember.
I can't with you.
I'm gonna tell you what I said. I was like, if you don't get out my face, and I probably used some other things.
Because I told you I was the one that was. I was like everybody. I'm like, hi, Tyla. And she was like,
I said, if you don't get out my face, like, yeah.
And here we are, my sister.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely. I love you more, Carol. Listen. And we had, as you see, everything that came between us. We were struggling with the same things, and didn't know how to have those relationships. So we had that conversation of how we even got to that point. And as with everything else, and as not everything else, but women, girls, young girls, we go through stuff. These men,
but that's what
boys.
But no,
and we thought that
it wasn't even because it's so funny. It really even wasn't about him. It's what you just said. Because of our mama trauma, we didn't know how to have relationships with ourselves.
Exactly, and that's what I was getting ready to get to. So we couldn't even get to a point to be able to have a conversation to trust each other enough is the point. We let those things come between us, and that's one of the challenges that I have had. Having healthy conflict.
Absolutely.
It's like when it's done, it's done.
I like that one. So listen, that was something else to say that just because you had mama trauma does not mean that you're not able to navigate through healthy relationships and healthy conflict. Come on with it. Tyla, we're about to wrap up. And I know that in the bio, I spoke about what you're doing, what you stand for. So I want people to be able to reach out to you, right? You never know what blessing is coming your way. So let people know where they can find you, what you're working on, what you're doing, and what you want them to know about Momma Trauma, your closing statements.
Oh, I sure will. So one thing that I did not note that I am a published author. I did, I did work on an anthology. Then I'm also working on an up-and-coming book, and I forgot about you either.
Okay.
So that's not off the charts. Okay. You are able to purchase that book, which my part of the anthology, I talked about me being more than a conqueror and the things that I did go through in my as a part of Momma Trauma and the trauma and childhood trauma. So in there you will find my story and how I overcame it all. And that book can be purchased at TylaYancey.com.
Spell it for me, Tyla.
TylaYancey. TylaYancey.com. And you can pick that book up there. And I also am in the process of working on a nonprofit, which is Be Tired Foundation.
What does that stand for?
It stands for Be Transformed, Rejuvenated. I'm sorry, I left out my I there. Transformed, Inspired, Rejuvenated, Empowered, and Delivered.
All right.
From all of your adverse situations. And we are working on transitional homes for teenage moms, young adults. We're working on programs for young men who are singly parenting or possibly not in a relationship with their moms, because the men need to be in their children's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on being able to mentor young boys, young men. We're going into schools, working with young children and teenagers on self-esteem, anti-bullying, just trying to build up our young, and we're going to build up our youth. We're going to build up the youth, and we're going to let them know that no matter what you've been through, no matter what kind of adversities have been going on in your life, you can get to higher heights.
Absolutely.
You gotta, it's something you said earlier that, we can't sit and dwell in the mama trauma. We can't sit and dwell in the molestations that we've all been through. Yes, me too. And, we can't dwell in those things. We have to know that those things can catapult us, and we don't have to be a statistic.
And one of the things that you said, Tyler, is that being an overcomer. So where you are is not necessarily where you ought to be. And what I am so grateful for is that you have just what you've done, turned your challenges into being an overcomer and being a part of the solution and not just dwelling on the problem. When we bring our past and our traumas, but are overcoming them into our communities, we build better families, better people, better cities, better states. So thank you for not dwelling in what you've been through, but knowing that you are not what you've been through. So I truly appreciate you sharing, coming on here today and sharing your story, sharing your insight, sharing your inspiration, and just sharing yourself with us. So you are now a part of the Being Unboxed family. So we welcome you.
Listen, I welcome Being Unboxed, because let me tell you, it's been a, when you're living in that box, you don't get to see all of the opportunities. There are so many things that we can be doing, we should be doing, and just being out in the community to make sure that others are getting what we have. We have a challenge of constantly wanting to do better than the next person, instead of knowing that each one of us can bring the other person up, and that's the thing that is hard for us as a Black woman, and that's just being real. We have to get to a point to be able to show people where we are and where they can be too. And so that's where it is for me. I want to show the youth where you can be, what you can do, because you can do it.
Absolutely. So, having said that, Momma Trauma is not the end of who you are, right?
Absolutely not.
Momma Trauma is just one other thing that is navigating through your journey of life, right? It does not pigeonhole you to have to be a person of lack, right? It doesn't have to be something that takes you to spaces and places that you feel within yourself that you're not able to be productive, to be in purpose or operate on purpose, in purpose, or whatever, because you still have a purpose. And I want people to remember that mother is just a word. We have made it characteristic with things of nurture, encouragement, support. These are characteristics that we put to the title. Mm-hmm. And what we have to do is we have to remove the title and see the person. When we can see the person, when we open up our heart, when we remove the bitterness, when we remove the anger, when we remove the resentment, we're able to then see through the lens of our heart and handle people with love gloves. Your mama needs you just as much as you needed your mom. Your mother needs to know how much you love her. She needs to know all the positive things that she's done, that she's given, that has made you the productive person that you are. Even with the trauma, she still puts something in you. Even the understanding that you've been through trauma has also only been given through a recognition of whatever it is that she did or didn't do, that gave you that opportunity to view it and see it that way. So know that Momma Trauma don't stop you, baby. You are more than a conqueror. You are an overcomer, and all things are possible. And greater is He that is in you than he that's in the world. So don't you stop at Momma Trauma. Climb over the mountain. Don't even strive. Walk in being an overcomer. Because you have got to this point, you can make it to the next.
Yes.
Thank you. Now say that. All right, y'all. Peace.